Hello, it's time for a physical media update. Hello, welcome back to my world of stuff. My name remains Paul Mount. Yes, it's back, the physical media update. This is the video I do every now and again when I bought some new bits and pieces, some Blu-rays, CDs, books, comics, etc., collectibles, and I display them all for your oohs and ahs and gasps. I haven't done one of these videos for a couple of months. Reason being, I haven't bought much physical media. I've got a few odds and sods that I have picked up in the last few weeks, but I think the problem is, when you have a fairly extensive collection of Blu-rays, DVDs, 4Ks, CDs and so on, there's not a lot left for you to get. And not only these people, and you see them on YouTube, people who go out every week and they buy all the new releases, whether they like the film or not, whether they've seen it or not. I'm a little bit more selective and I pick and choose and I buy things that I want, things that are bargains, things that I think will add something to my collection. I'm not just a voracious grabber of anything that comes out. As a result, and as you can see, I have a lot of these things. And over there, you can probably see steelbooks and things. In the house, there's cupboards full of 4Ks. There's great big shelves full of DVDs. There's not much I want. However, I will pick things up as and when, and I've got a few things that I have picked up in the last month or so. So I appreciate it's been 2 months at least since the last update, so let's get on with it. I will point out that I'm going to show you a lot of books in this video because there's not a lot of physical media. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but 8 disky things and some books. Now, I don't know if I describe myself as a voracious reader, but I'm a keen reader. I always like to have a book or two on the go, and if something really grabs me, I'll rattle through it very quickly. And my reading sort of falls between two stools. I'm either constantly reading one book to the next, or I'm just not in the mood, and I can go weeks without picking up a book, despite the fact I've got loads of books to get through. So I'm going to start showing you some books as well, because I am a huge supporter of the written word. I love books, I love the smell of new books, I love owning books, cracking open a new book, and that's not something which I've seen covered that much on YouTube, probably because it's not a very particularly visual thing. But now and again, when I have got some new books, I'm going to show them to you and talk about them and recommend them, because if you're interested in reading, I do read a fair bit of fiction and quite a few biographies, autobiographies, and it'll be nice to recommend books that I think you might be interested in, especially this time of year with the Christmas buying season just around the corner again. So let's crack on. Let's look at some books first of all. If I show the books first, that means you've got to hang around to the end of the video to see the physical media, or at least speed through the video, which I think counts as a view for the analytics. Oh God, I'm getting so YouTubey. Right, first book I'm going to show you is one that I've read and is on my shelf. I was sent this to review for starburstmagazine.com. There is a review online there if you want to read a bit more about it. And this attracted me because I like the sound of it. It's post-apocalyptic, and I'm a sucker for a post-apocalyptic story. And this one sounded intriguing, but I wasn't sure if it's going to be quite my cup of tea. Anyway, it's called The Horses, and it's by Janina Mathewson, and it's published by Wildfire Books. This is, I believe it's the first book by this particular author. It's really interesting, and I actually read this very quickly because it's excellent. It's set after some sort of unspecified apocalypse. Something has happened. Communication has gone down. Planes are falling out of the sky. There's no way of contacting the outside world for the inhabitants of Black Crag, a mysterious island. The book doesn't tell us where the island is. It's somewhere in the UK, so I think we can assume it's somewhere off the coast of Scotland, up around there. But the book never really specifies that. And it refers to the mainland and the city, but it never pins its colours to the mask about where it's actually set. And it's a sort of rural story about survivors in a very isolated community who don't know anything about what's going on in the outside world, but trying to survive and be self-sufficient on the island. And it's told through the eyes of a character called Sarah. She's an 18-year-old girl who has lived on the island most of her life, and she's planning to go to university, and that was her next move in life, was to go to university. The world ends, of course, and she finds that she can't get to the mainland. Nobody knows what's happened on the mainland, despite expeditions out there. people have left the island to go and find out they never come back. Somebody has come from the mainland, but they're so shell-shocked and traumatized, they're not able to talk about their experiences. So the story is really told largely from Sarah's perspective as she comes to terms with the fact that she's probably going to have to spend her life on this island. And it's quite, I wouldn't say it's slow paced because it moves along. It's a nice old clip. But what is nice about it is that there's always talk about the apocalypse. It's always mentioned, you know, and it's like a cloud that looms over them, that something has happened on the mainland that we don't know about and they don't know about. So the threat of it is always there. But the characters are really well developed. The relationships are really good. It's quite an insular community, obviously, full of outsiders because it is an outside place. It's away from the mainland. But you get to know the characters very well, and the situation is engrossing, and it's really well written, but not in an overcomplicated, over-fussy way. The language is straightforward, but very readable and quite lyrical. The horses, the title of the horses actually refers to something which happens towards the end of the book, which is sort of a symbol of life going on in the face of terrible catastrophe. Highly recommended if you like that sort of thing. And as I said, I flew through it. And there is a review at Starburst's website. It's called The Horses by Janina Mathewson, and that is on Wildfire. I won't go into so much detail about all the other books because I haven't read them all yet. However, I will mention this one, which I'm currently reading and very close to finishing. This is published by Simon & Schuster, and it's called Drowning by T.J. Newman. This is the second book from this particular writer. She used to be a flight attendant, so her books tend to be about aircraft and things happening on aircraft. Her first book was called Falling, which I read a couple of years ago. This was a really good book about a hijacking on a plane, a really good sort of thriller. I understand it is being developed as a film. And I'm reading the new one, Drowning. It's not quite as good, I will be honest and upfront about it. Not quite as propulsive. It's about a plane that crashes into the water and a rescue attempt. It's sort of a typical 70s disaster movie. There's a handful of survivors in the plane as it sinks in an air pocket. The rescue operations know that there's people alive in there. It's all about their attempts to try and get them out and the attempts of the survivors to stay alive in this air pocket. Not quite as propulsive and eventful as the previous book, but very enjoyable. And this is something, as you can see, I am about 200 odd pages, 180 pages through it. It's only 290 pages, so I should finish this off in a couple of days. But it's worth a look. It actually came out last year, and she has a new one coming out this year as well, which might be worth a look. Similar sort of theme about airplane disaster. So she's created a bit of a niche for herself, but very good if you want a sort of a cinematic potboiler of her book. Recommended. I picked this up at a charity shop. I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know much about it. It's called Blade Runners, Deer Hunters and Blowing the Bloody Doors Off. My Life in Cult Movies by Michael Dealey. Michael Dealey was a film producer in the sort of glory days of Hollywood cinema, 70s and 80s. And this is his memoir, if you like, telling the story of the films he worked on, the people he worked with, the clashes he had with those people, all the characters that he worked with, some of the classic films he worked on. This was 50p in a car boot sale I popped through last week. And this is one that will go on the shelf and probably be picked up one winter afternoon when I can't think of much else to do. It's called Blade Runners. I don't know if it's still available. Published by Faber. I think it was published in 2008, so I don't know if it's still available. But if you're interested in behind the scenes and all the backstage drama of filmmaking, probably one for you. A few more books to mention. This one is one of my favourite authors. One of my favourite books of recent years is called How to Stop Time by an English author called Matt Haig. I loved it so much that I read some of his other books. The Radleys, which is going to be a film coming out next month. The Humans. Midnight Library was his last book. I've read quite a few of his books. He's an extraordinarily inspired and insightful author. How to Stop Time is a magnificent story about a man who ages 14 times slower than everybody else. And he's lived for centuries and experienced a lot. And he's exhausted. Beautiful, beautiful book. It's been optioned for a film and a TV series. The latest I've heard is that a TV series is coming with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is supposed to be filming this year. Haven't heard any more about that. Anyway, his name is Matt Haig, and he's got a new book out, which is called The Life Impossible, which is about retired maths teacher Grace left in a rundown house on a Mediterranean island by a long-lost friend, curiosity gets the better of her. She arrives in Ibiza with a one-way ticket, no guidebook and no plan. Among the rugged hills and golden beaches of the Balearics, Grace searches for answers about her friend's life and how it ended. What she uncovers is stranger than she could have dreamed. But to dive into this impossible truth, Grace must first come to terms with her past. Filled with wonder and wild adventure, this is a story of hope and the life-changing power of a new beginning. These are the sort of books which he writes. Life-affirming, life-changing, optimistic books. The world's a bleak and dark and bitter sort of place at the moment, and Matt Haig writes those books that give you a bit of hope and uplift you a little bit. Haven't started reading this yet. I did actually pick it up this morning and read the first couple of pages, which are emails between a couple of characters, and I thought, oh, I want to read this. So this, I think, when I finish Drowning, is going to be the next one on my reading list. Just a few more books to go, I promise you. Next one up is a hardback book by Michael Crichton, wait for it, and James Patterson. It's called Eruption. I saw this in Asda last week. It was about, I don't know, 14 quid, something like that. And I thought it looks quite interesting. Obviously, Michael Crichton died a few years ago. Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park. You don't need me to tell you that. He died a few years ago, but apparently he had notes for other books, and this is one of them, which has now been written up by James Patterson, the author of umpteen thrillers and adventure books over the years. And it's the story about a violent eruption of an earthquake which puts the whole world at risk. And I got this eventually from eBay. I looked for it on eBay, found it for 8 quid. It's a bit more battered than an off-the-shelf copy, but for a book that I don't think is going to be a cherished book, it's going to be a quick flick adventure book. I think it's a decent price, and I'll be starting that as and when. Another book I'm really looking forward to getting into is the latest from Bob Mortimer. It's called The Hotel Avocado. You might have seen him on TV in the last week or so and on radio publicising. This is his second novel, the follow-up to the Satsuma Complex, which came out a couple of years ago. That was a book which I bought and sat on my shelf for months, and I sort of picked it up and flew through it. If you like Bob Mortimer and Vic Reeves, that's a sense of humour. This is Bob's voice. It's full of oddly named people and weird similes, and a really good story. The first one was a great book, which became a sort of a thriller, but with that sort of surreal comedy that Bob Mortimer's so well known for. I'm pleased he's done a sequel, because I think there was lots of room for the characters to have further adventures. And this is one, again, I'll be coming to at some point very soon. Bob Mortimer, The Hotel Avocado, has just come out. I ordered it from Amazon, incidentally, and it was a pre-order price of £11. It costs, the RRP is £22. I ordered it a few months ago. It came out last week, but Amazon sent me an email to say it was delayed, it would be out next week. I happened to be out and about last week, and I saw it in WH Smith, £11. So obviously I cancelled my Amazon order, picked it up in Smith's. Typically, though, I popped into Tesco earlier this week, where with a Tesco Club card you could get it for £8.75. That's the way. That's the way these things go. I'm pleased to have it. I'm pleased, and I'm looking forward to reading it soon. Another book to review for Starburst magazine that I was sent for one of their mail-outs. This is called The Narrows by Ronald Malfi. Now, Ronald Malfi is an up-and-coming sort of horror author. I've read a couple of his books that I've actually reviewed. Really enjoyed them. There's a book of short stories, which was excellent, and a book about a guy whose wife is killed in one of these mall shootings in America, and then he goes on a journey to try and find out something about her past. Really interesting, sort of vaguely supernatural story. He's a very good writer. I believe this is a vampire story. I don't know a lot about it. It doesn't come out till October in paperback, so it's not an urgent read. It's published by Titan Books, incidentally. And yeah, it's some sort of vampire story. I think it's a new edition of a book which he wrote years ago. So that's one for the winter nights, I think, for spooky season, as they call it in America. It's The Narrows by Ronald Malfi. Final book. We're getting there to the physical media. I bought this a few months back, and I haven't got around to it yet. And again, I think, well, it's got a bit battered in the post, but what the hell. It's one of the new Doctor Who hardback books. There were, I think, 3 that were published in the wake of the last series. This is the only one I've picked up so far, Ruby Red, written by Georgia Cook. It's a sort of historical story set in Russia, and with, of course, aliens, a typical sort of Doctor Who concoction. I will get round to it. I've meant to get round to it, but time hasn't been on my side. There are new books, of course, the new paperback Target books based on episodes from the latest season. I haven't picked them up yet. They don't seem essential for me at the moment. But this is, that's going to be a nice read somewhere down the line. Right, Now, hallelujah, hurrah, the physical media that you're really here for, the Blu-ray, DVDs and so on. First thing I'm going to show you, you know I've got this because I've shown you already, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 that I picked up from eBay, a couple of quid. And in fact, it's now Sunday afternoon when I finish recording this video. I'm going to be sitting down and settling down to watch this, and I'm really not looking forward to it. But it's got to be done because these films are back in the cinema, and I have promised to do a complete rewatch of all the Spider-Man cinematic films, so that's coming up, and there'll be a video up tomorrow. Other new stuff, then there's a few other new discs that I picked up. I'll show you this one. I don't think I've showed you this. This is Titanic, James Cameron's Titanic on 4K. Picked this up from CEX a couple of months back. I had a voucher for about 16 quid. I think this was 18 quid. So I got it for 2 quid. I do quite like Titanic. I know it's cheesy and corny, but it is a spectacle. And you've got the 4K disc, the film on Blu-ray, and all the special features on Blu-ray. Doesn't have a slipcover, but I'm not losing any sleep over that. It's the film that matters. And the box is in good condition. Film's in good condition. That's Titanic. I picked this one up from Asda, again, a few weeks ago. The Fall Guy, when it was released on physical media. You may also have seen videos online from people who had discovered, on purchasing it, that there had been an error in the processing factory, and the Blu-ray actually included the 4K disc, the 4K Ultra disc. These are available, I think, in Asda. I don't know if it was HMV as well. And I popped to my local Asda purely by chance, and there was a copy there. So I picked it up. It's 15 quid. I got it for 14 quid because that's an Asda voucher. I got home very pleased to discover it was the 4K and the Blu-ray. So I think that they have now recalled any outstanding ones and replaced them with the correct editions. But yeah, it's the 4K with the extended version and the theatrical version and bonus features on the Blu-ray. I think that obviously there was supposed to be the Blu-ray special edition, but a consignment of them had the 4K included, which ain't bad. That's The Fall Guy, and I did like The Fall Guy. It's a good fun film, which I will watch again. This I picked up on Friday, Sunday now, in CEX. Again, I had a voucher for a couple of quid. Wasn't much that caught my attention, but I did see Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, again without a slipcover. Again, the cover's a little bit manky. This was 6 quid. I paid about 2 quid for it by the time I cashed in my voucher. I'm not a massive fan of the Nolan Batman films, but having said that, it's a 4K disc of a well-regarded film, which I haven't seen for years, so I will be re-watching it at some point. And again, you have the 4K disc, the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray special features, and I haven't looked at it yet since I bought it, but I'm imagining it's in pretty good condition. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's in pretty damn fine condition. So yeah, Batman Begins. Car boots that I went to on Thursday, localish car boot. I don't go very often, but I pop in every month just to see what new stuff is there. Picked up a couple of bits, and it's one of those situations where I thought, have I got this? Have I got it? I don't know. I knew I had this on DVD. Didn't know if I have it on Blu-ray, and sure enough I haven't. I have now. It's the classic Fight Club from David Fincher. Again, this is a film I haven't seen in ages. I did like it, but I've never got around to rewatching it. I've got the special edition DVD set upstairs somewhere, but I wasn't sure if I had it on Blu-ray. Checked this afternoon coming to the cinema room, and I haven't. I have now. Similarly, although not quite such a bargain, this is sealed, and I assume this is one of the ones that was available when they were selling them cheaply in Poundland a while back. It's not a good film, but it's Green Hornet, the Seth Rogen version, which has still got his labels on it, so I believe it may have been one of those, what do they call them, not reconstructed, repackaged ones that they were doing in Poundland. 40p for a Blu-ray, and again, I wasn't sure, I must have picked this up at some point, but I never have. Whether I will ever watch it again, however, is another matter, but 40p seemed like a bit of a bargain to me. 3 more for you. These were from a charity shop I went to last Monday, on Bank Holiday Monday, when I nipped out. 50p each. This was a horror film called 51, which came out 2009 apparently. It's a low budget thing. It's by the After Dark label. They used to bring out DVDs, low budget horror sci-fi DVDs. It's an Area 51 thing. Military people in Area 51 and aliens come to life and all that sort of caper. 50p though, no, couldn't leave it there. This couldn't leave there either. This was just a random volume of the $6 Million Man series in the 70s, Volume 3. I know it's all available on Blu-ray, but I've never been inclined to buy it on Blu-ray. But this for 50p, 3 episodes, Hocus Pocus, The Price of Liberty, and The Bionic Criminal. I used to like the $6 Million Man when I was younger. I've seen bits of it later, and it's incredibly dated and incredibly slow. But I think it might be fun to watch those again at some point. There's a bit of nostalgia. Finally, the final one for you in this particular episode. This came on Friday. It's a little bit late because it came out Monday, I think it was. A guilty pleasure, if ever there was one. It's Adrian Emerson and Rick Mayall in Guest House Paradiso, aka The Bottom Movie. I've got this on DVD, but it's now been reissued by Indicator on a new Blu-ray with a booklet, a very chunky booklet about the making of the film. Rick Mayall's one of my heroes, if you like, one of my comedy heroes. Still can't believe he's not with us. And Adrian Emerson, Young Ones, Filthy Rich, Cat Flat Bottom. Just genius comedy that's timeless in a way. And I'm looking forward to watching this again, to the extent that, spoiler, this is going to be a retro movie review later this week when I sit and watch this one and do a quick chat about the genius of Rick and Aid. That's Guest House Paradiso. So that's it. Those are my pickups for the last couple of months. Not a lot physical media-wise. Loads of books. So I hope you weren't too bored by the books. And let me know if you're interested in any more book coverage on the channel. I can guess what the response is likely to be. But if you are interested in books and new releases and things, that, you know, I don't read, as I said, not exactly voracious, but I do like to have a book on the go, sometimes two. And yeah, when you get into a really good book, there's nothing like it. I think if I had to give up watching TV, listening to music or books, I could only keep one of those. I think I keep my ability to read books, because books can be so immersive. You create the world around you. I've always loved reading, and I do read a lot. So if you want to know more about the books that I read as I pick them up, let me know and I can post about them in future videos. Right, thank you for watching this. Hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's probably not what you expected or wanted from a physical media update, but what are you going to do? Thank you for watching. I will see you soon. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.